Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special March Madness Bracketology edition of Final Take. I am Jostun Pomplun, and helping me break down the bracket tonight are Zitouni and Bryce Pomplun. Did you guys watch the selection show at all, even with the leaked bracket?
Yeah, I did. It was funny watching Charles Barkley struggle with the board, but I don't know. It was as good as it can be. I'm sure they can get it down to half an hour at the most. It's way too long.
Yeah, I watched. I was hoping that they would show some of the teams that didn't get in, and just to see a little disappointment on the teams' faces. But I mean, it's always good to see the team celebrate, see what seed they are. So I liked it.
Yeah, I watched it. Even though I heard about the leaked bracket, I didn't want to take away how much I love watching the selection show. But yes, it could have been a lot shorter. Have you guys filled out a bracket yet?
I filled out multiple brackets.
I will not fill out a bracket until Wednesday night after all the playing games are done.
Yeah, I usually wait till after the first four, too, then I can maybe pick those winners as well. Well, tonight we break down each region and make our picks for the Final Four in national championships. Overall bracket. Did the committee get it right?
No, I don't think they did with the whole fiasco over the league bracket, and some conferences had teams in the tournament that shouldn't have been in the tournament. So I think between those two things, the committee didn't get it right.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in the committee. I was really expecting Monmouth to be in, St. Mary's to be in, and St. Bonaventure to be in. I did not expect Vanderbilt, who played awful in SEC play, and SEC is not a very good conference. And Oregon State was in, and USC was in, and I believe Tulsa also made it. Those are four teams I did not even expect to make the tournament, and they did.
Yeah, I think the whole thing was awful. The seeding was terrible. The Big Ten absolutely got no love in the seeding. The Pac-12 was seeded very highly. You got Oregon State, got a 7 seed for crying out loud. The Big 12, obviously, they were strong all year. They got 7 teams in. That was solid. But the SEC, they were awful. Texas A&M got a 3. While Kentucky got a 4 when Kentucky just beat them in the SEC championship. So the seeding was god-awful. And Ben, what bubble teams did you have that should have got in?
That should have got in? Monmouth is one of them, and the second one's Valparaiso too. But with Green Bay beating Valpo in the Horizon League tournament, there wasn't a way that the committee was going to have 2 Horizon League teams in the tournament.
You already mentioned your bubble teams, but for bubble teams, I had South Carolina, St. Mary's, Monmouth, and St. Bonaventure, all that should have got in. And I don't know how Vanderbilt got in. They lost to 12-seeded Tennessee in the first round of the SEC tournament. Syracuse, 19-13, they didn't prove much to get in. Tulsa in the Conference USA, I don't know how, or American Conference, I don't know how they got in. I don't know what they did. And then Michigan, I thought they would get in after beating Indiana, but they could make a case either way that they could be left out.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I'm the most disappointed with Monmouth. They had 27 wins on the season. They played, I believe, like 17 games on the road. They had 17 road wins. And they weren't playing this all garbage schools. They went to USC, they went to Georgetown, and they beat these teams. They went to Notre Dame, and they beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I believe, is a 5 seed. Like, they played some quality competition on the road. They definitely should have been in. I have no idea what the committee was thinking on this one.
Yeah, they tell you to go out, play road games, in neutral site games. Monmouth went out and won like 17 road and neutral court games. And you mentioned the teams they beat. South Carolina, their non-conference schedule was awful, but they won every game, and they finished 3rd in the SEC, and the SEC was weak, but still 24 wins from a power conference. That should get you in. St. Mary's, they scheduled a weak non-conference. I heard they didn't even leave the state of California until late in the conference play. So, yeah, the committee did not get this right at all. Well, moving on to the first 4. Tonight we have Florida Gulf Coast taking on Fairleigh Dickinson, followed by Vanderbilt and Wichita State. Tomorrow, on Wednesday, we have Michigan and Tulsa and Holy Cross and Southern. Who do you guys see winning these first 4 games?
Tonight, those 2 games, I have Florida Gulf Coast and Wichita winning, and then tomorrow night I have Michigan and Southern.
See, I have Fairleigh Dickinson winning their opening night game. They got a guy named Potts the third, I believe. Guy averages 15 points a game, and I believe they're in the Northeast Conference is Fairleigh Dickinson they're from. In the Northeast Conference Championship game, Potts went off for, I believe, 35 points. He's just lighting it up on the scoreboard right now, and he's playing really well. So I see them beating Florida Gulf Coast. Florida Gulf Coast doesn't have the same type of talent that they've had in recent years. For the Wichita, I believe Wichita State's going to win. They got a lot of talent. The committee kind of screwed them over by giving them an 11 seed. I believe that they were an 8 or a 9 seed. And then the next two games, Michigan will probably win, but Tulsa, they have eight solid players on their team, 7 of them seniors, and then the next one's a junior. A lot of experience on that team. So they could win, but I believe Michigan, by playing in the Big Ten, they got a lot of talent. And then the other 16 seed game is just basically flip a coin to pick 'em. I'd go with Southern. I have really no idea about those two teams.
Yeah, that one Holy Cross Southern game, Bill Carmody, 13 years at Northwestern, never gets in, goes on a run with Holy Cross in the conference tournament, and they're in at 14-19 or whatever. So, yeah, Northwestern's feeling that. But the game tonight between Vanderbilt and Wichita State, I think that ought to be a good one. I think the Shockers come out on top. Just too much Fred VanVleet and Ron Baker. All right, we will take a short commercial break, but when we return, we break down the South and West brackets. Stay tuned.
Got an itch to be on air? Join the SPTV News crew. Being an on and off air reporter will help you gain experience in interviewing, shooting and editing video, and reporting behind the anchor desk. Join SPTV News, pointing to you.
Don't let the snow and cold get you down this winter. The frozen tundra outside may keep you indoors, but here at SPTV, we'll still be getting you the best news, sports coverage, and entertainment that you need. Don't freeze your fingers and toes off to find out what's happening around campus. Stay warm, everyone.
Welcome back. The Kansas Jayhawks are the tournament's #1 overall seed in the South region and will face 16 seed Austin Peay. UConn takes on Colorado in the 8-9 matchup, with 5th seeded Maryland playing number 12 South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. Number 4 California battles the 13 seed Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, with 6th seeded Arizona against either Vanderbilt or the Wichita State winner. 3rd seeded Miami takes on 14 seed Buffalo, who's in the tournament for the 2nd straight year. Number 7 Iowa goes up against 10th seeded Temple. Iowa's faded down the stretch here. And last but not least, 2nd seeded Villanova versus 15 UNC Asheville. What are some potential upsets in the first round of this region?
Well, I have two. I have Wichita State beating Arizona, and I also have the 12 over the 5 with South Dakota State being Maryland. I think first with Wichita State getting their offense is going to be good with Ron Baker and VanVleet back. That's really going to help them offensively. And I think Arizona, they've kind of struggled in the tournament the past couple of years. I think that they're going to be too confident, and they're going to wind up slipping up against Wichita State. And then with the 12 over the 5 with South Dakota State beating Maryland, South Dakota State's averaging 76.3 points per game, and Maryland's kind of been a hot and cold team in some parts of the season and with their Big Ten schedule. And then South Dakota State has a forward, Mike Dahm, who's averaging 15.2 points per game, so he's going to lead the offense for South Dakota State.
See, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but Arizona has not struggled the last couple of tournaments. They were 2 Elite 8 appearances like the last 2 seasons, and Wisconsin beat them both times. So I don't know where you got that info about Arizona struggling in the tournament. But Arizona has been struggling so far this year. So I could see the winner of the Wichita State and who are they playing? Vanderbilt game, possibly upsetting them. I do agree with that one. Maryland, they have too much talent to lose to South Dakota State. They have Melo Trimble, who was considered National Player of the Year. Diamond Stone's going to give him a heck of an effort. And Jake Layman, he's not going to go out in the first round. He's too talented. The upset that you want to look at here is Hawaii over California, the Rainbow Warriors. I mean, they press, they run, have fast pace, they force, like, they're top 5 turnover forcing team. They get a lot of possessions, they take a lot of shots, and that's the type of play that teams use to upset better teams more, slow it down, stack teams like Cal would be. Cal's got a lot of talent in the front court, but Hawaii's backcourt will probably be better than Cal. So that's my major upset in this region.
Yeah, UConn, the 8-9 matchup, those are pretty much chalk, but UConn's on a roll right now, especially after winning the American Conference. Maryland, they could be shaky going to South Dakota State. Wisconsin transfer point guard George Marshall. The Jackrabbits have been playing pretty well this year. Like you said, Hawaii over California. Hawaii, nobody really gets to see them play. They play so late. They're out in Hawaii. But they're sneaky good. And then the other one I had was Temple over Iowa. Iowa has just been playing awful the past month or two of the season. Temple, winners of the regular season in the American Conference, they bowed out to UConn, who's been on a roll in the conference tournament. But watch out for Temple.
See, now let me just cut you off right there. All right, so Iowa's playing awful the last couple of games, but Iowa's been playing in the Big Ten. You can't compare the American to the Big Ten. Iowa's a very good team, and I see Iowa actually going pretty far in this tournament.
Well, Illinois, how good were they this year? I don't think Illinois was that good, and Iowa just lost to Illinois. They've lost to Penn State. These are teams at the bottom of the Big Ten Conference that they're losing to as well.
Yeah, but teams can get hot just right time, and that's what happened when Iowa played Penn State and when they played Illinois. I believe both those teams scored over 80 points, which is uncharacteristic for both of them. They usually score about 60. So any team can get hot on a given night. Iowa just had some bad luck there.
Yeah, the Illinois-Iowa game was 68-66. Nice try. All right, so what are some games in this region to watch in the second round?
I think the second round matchup, Wichita State against Miami, that's going to be a good matchup with both those offenses going against each other. Then another game in the second round I'm looking at is the all-Philly matchup with Temple and Villanova. I think both of them, they're obviously with the rivalry with both of them being from Philadelphia, then their offenses too. I think that's going to be a good game to watch.
See, I'm going to have to disagree with you there. It's not going to be Temple-Villanova. It's going to be Iowa-Villanova, and then Iowa is going to beat Villanova. Villanova struggles in the NCAA Tournament. They've had first weekend exits, I believe, in the last 4 tournaments, and they're going to make it a 5th in a row. Iowa's a very good team they got some senior leadership in Woodbury and Jock, and who's the guy from Wisconsin that transferred out? Utah, all very talented players, and I believe that talent is going to take Iowa to the Sweet 16.
We'll see if you're right.
Who knows? The one intriguing game I have is obviously the all-Philly, Temple, Villanova, and then Maryland, California. That could be a good 4 or 5 game, but other than that, I think it's pretty much chalk in the second round in this bracket. All right, how about for Sweet 16 games?
Man,
I got Kansas over California, and Miami over Villanova. So pretty much chalk there, besides Miami over Villanova. What about you guys?
I have Miami and Villanova with Miami winning that, and I have Kansas, California in the Sweet 16, but I have California upsetting Kansas in the Sweet 16. I think Kansas should be on upset alert. There's going to be a lot of teams gunning to upset them.
Yeah, Cal does have 2 potential lottery picks, and Jaylen Brown and Ivan Rabb, but Kansas is they've developed a bench over the past couple weeks. Kansas is just too deep for them, I think.
Yeah, Kansas, excellent team. I believe they're going to beat Maryland in the Sweet 16. And then I'm going to have Miami over Iowa in the other Sweet 16 game. Miami's a very talented team. They should have won the ACC. I mentioned last week that they had, I still can't remember the guy's name, got suspended for the last 3 ACC games. Otherwise, Miami would have won the ACC outright. They should be the ACC champs, not North Carolina.
And then Elite 8, I got Kansas, Miami with Kansas winning. So how about you guys for the Elite 8?
I have California, Miami in the Elite 8 with Miami winning and going to the Final Four.
And then I have Miami over Kansas. Miami, super talented team, under the radar. They're not always on ESPN, and I think they're going to be sneaky. They're a sneaky good team.
So I think it's definitely a consensus that we have Miami going to the Elite 8, and then it could be Kansas, could be California, who knows, but I think Kansas, just by the way they've played in the best conference in the country all season and won the conference tournament. All right, next we will break down the West region. Top-seeded Oregon got to stay on the West Coast and will play the Holy Cross and Southern winner in that first 4 game. In the 8-9 matchup, St. Joseph battles Cincinnati. Baylor takes on Yale in the 5-12 game. 4th-seeded Duke plays number 13 UNC Wilmington. We have Texas and Northern Iowa in the 6-11 matchup. Third-seeded Texas A&M takes on our own 14-seeded UW Green Bay. Number 7, Oregon State takes on VCU. And second-seeded Oklahoma stays at home in Oklahoma City and takes on tournament newcomer Cal State Bakersfield. Any upsets in this bracket?
Oh, this bracket's going to be upset-filled for sure. I mean, I'm just looking at it, taking a quick glance. UNC William team's going to beat Duke. Teams that press a lot and will cause Duke to go to their bench usually means that Duke's going to lose. They're only 6 deep. And UNC Wilmington, they're just like West Virginia. They press the whole game. They force a lot of turnovers, score a lot of points. There's the upset right there. Northern Iowa over Texas. I don't believe Texas is really that good. Northern Iowa, they got a solid foundation. They have their point guard, super athletic. Like, I believe his vertical is like 46 inches. Like, he's an amazing athlete. Let's see, another upset I have is VCU over Oregon State. I don't even believe Oregon State should be in this tournament, so of course I'm not going to pick them to win the first round. VCU, they don't really have, with Shaka Smart having left them last year, they don't really have the same style of play that they did with Shaka Smart, but they still do that havoc defense where they're forcing a lot of turnovers. And that's where you look at upsets. It's teams that force a lot of turnovers usually are the ones that can get the upsets.
I think for the most part, you're in my bracket, and that region is pretty much the same. I mean, I have St. Joe's beating Cincinnati. That's not really an upset with the 8-9. I do have Duke winning, but I agree with you, Bryce, that their lack of bench depth could hurt them in the tournament. I have Northern Iowa winning. They beat 3 tournament teams this year: North Carolina, Iowa State, and Stephen F. Austin. They're on a 6-game winning streak, and they're 12-1 in their last 13. And then I also have VCU beating Oregon State. I still don't understand how Oregon State's in the tournament, and I think VCU's offense is going to give Oregon State too much to handle.
Another tournament team Northern Iowa beat was Wichita State in the conference tournament. But yeah, the upsets I have: Northern Iowa over Texas. Wes Washburn, the point guard for Northern Iowa, he's been going off this year. Texas, they haven't fared well in the past couple tournaments, and Northern Iowa, they're usually the giant killer in the tournaments. If you remember back against Kansas years ago, and even a couple years ago, I think they had one. And then again, VCU, Oregon State, I think, is seated a little high based on the power of the Pac-12. But I think they can be it. Gary Payton II, Oregon State are good, but I don't think they deserve the 7th seed, so I have VCU. All right, second round games, who do you have in that bracket?
I have maybe a little bit of an upset is I have Baylor beating Duke in the second round. Like Bryce and I both said, I think the lack of bench depth for Duke is really going to hurt them. And then that's really I have Northern Iowa beating Texas A&M, if you want to call that an upset too.
I would call that an upset.
See, I actually have 2 major upsets in this one. I have VCU over Oklahoma. When a team has a star leading scorer like Oklahoma's Buddy Hield, they usually don't fare that well in the tournament because teams can focus on one guy and shut him down. Or if he has an off night, like when he only scored 6 points against West Virginia in the Big 12 tournament.
Still almost hit the game winner.
Still, but he's 2/10 of a second too late, and guess who won the game? West Virginia. So that could happen against VCU. VCU, they run that same style as West Virginia, not full court press, but really havoc defense. And then this is the upset that's going to get a lot of people. St. Joe's over Oregon. All right, St. Joe's, they kind of got that methodical pace, not really like the team for upset because they don't press, they don't force a lot of turnovers. They run a nice moderate pace, and they play really good defense. But Oregon, if they're off, they're off. It's like the same as Oklahoma, and you really can't trust those streaky shooting teams. So I could see Oregon getting bounced by St. Joe's because St. Joe's methodically brought the ball down the court against VCU in their conference championship game, worked it around, used the shot clock, got easy buckets, and Oregon's defense isn't that good. So if they're not hitting their shots, St. Joe's probably taking this game.
I could see St. Joe's beating Oregon, but I don't think it's going to happen. Oregon's playing really well right now. They just won their conference championship game over Utah by 31 points. Plus, they got the home court advantage by staying out west. And also, Oklahoma, I think they're moving on. VCU is not going to go into Oklahoma City just a few miles down the road and beat the Sooners there. But I think Baylor beats Duke based on the lack of Duke's bench and the size for Baylor. Well, who you guys got going to the Final Four in this region?
I have Oregon going to the Final Four. Like you said, they're on a roll. Their offense has been on fire as of late, and I really don't think anybody can stop them.
I have VCU going to the Final Four in this region. Havoc defense. They force a lot of turnovers, score a lot of points. I don't think teams can compete with VCU.
Yeah, I had pretty much chalk in this bracket, Oregon, Oklahoma, but I got Oklahoma over Oregon in a high-scoring game. All right, well, we will take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we break down the East and Midwest regions.
How can you get involved with student media at UWSP? Connecting with your campus television station, SBTV, is easy. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Vine, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Pinterest, follow us on Instagram, or connect with us on Google+. But of course, the best way for you to get involved and stay up to date with all that is happening at our station is to stop by our studio. We're located in the Communication Arts Center at UWSP, Studio B, Room 121. You can also drop by our office, Room 130, for more information on station happenings. We can't wait to get you involved. Come join us at SPTV. Let's make media together.
Interested in TV and like to talk about sports? Then Final Take is the thing for you. Final Take films every Tuesday at 4 p.m. in the CAC Room 121. Come and join the fun. At Final Take, anything pointers, anything sports.
Welcome back. In the East region, North Carolina is the top seed. The Tar Heels will face the winner of the first four matchup between Florida Gulf Coast and Fairleigh Dickinson. The 8-9 game is USC versus Providence. Indiana takes on Chattanooga in the 5-12 matchup. Fourth-seeded Kentucky plays number 13 Stony Brook. Sixth-seeded Notre Dame goes up against the Tulsa, Michigan winner. West Virginia, the third seed, goes against 14th-seeded Stephen F. Austin. Seventh-seeded Wisconsin plays 10th-seeded Pittsburgh. And second-seeded Xavier plays number 15 Weber State. What upsets do you guys have here?
I guess the one big upset I have in this bracket is Chattanooga over Indiana. I think, well, you go to that 12-5 matchup. It's always good for at least one upset. And Indiana, they lost. Who did they? They lost to Michigan in the tournament, right? I know tournament time, a lot of upsets happen, but there's really no reason. I know it was a game-winning shot too, but there's really no reason Indiana should have lost to Michigan. They should have gone farther in the Big Ten tournament.
So yeah, I think this region is going to be pretty chalk. The only upset I see is going to be Providence over USC, and that's a 9-8 matchup. This is because USC, I don't believe USC should have even been in the tournament. So I'm anti-Pac-12. I don't believe that many Pac-12 teams should be in the tournament. So I'm having them eliminated pretty much in the first or second round. And yeah, there's really no other upset to even talk about.
I got Providence over USC in the first round and Chattanooga over Indiana. Chattanooga's one of the better mid-major teams, and Indiana losing in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. Usually if you lose your first game of the big conference tournament, you don't fare well in the big tournament. And then that's all for upsets I have, but Stony Brook Jameel Warney down low, they could do well against Kentucky, since Kentucky, they're figuring it out lately, but they're usually a lot better in Lexington and don't fare as well on the road or neutral courts. All right, how about the rest of the region? How do you see that playing out?
Well, I guess there's one matchup everybody's interested in. I have the Badgers beating Pittsburgh, but losing in the second round to Xavier. I have Notre Dame beating West Virginia in the second round, and North Carolina beating Providence. Another upset I have in the second round is Chattanooga beating Kentucky. I think Chattanooga gets 2 wins in this tournament. They're going to surprise some people.
See, my big upset is going to be Wisconsin over Xavier, and that's only because I believe Wisconsin plays pretty good defense. And if you hold Xavier to under 42% shooting, they're 0-5, I believe, on the season. All 5 of their losses have come when they shot under 42%. The only reason why Xavier does have a chance to beat Wisconsin is because teams that switch up defenses usually do fairly well in the first 2 days because there's not a lot of preparation time. So Xavier, by switching to that 1-3-1 and that man defense, probably will throw Wisconsin off their offensive rhythm. But if Wisconsin can D up, I believe they can take that game.
A lot of people want to see the Indiana-Kentucky matchup in the second round, which is a possibility, barring an upset. Providence could very well take it to UNC with Chris Dunn and Ben Bentel, who could be 2 of the best players on the court. I have Wisconsin over Xavier. They have the experience to beat them. But Xavier, they could run up and down the floor on the Badgers. That game could go either way. So for the rest of the bracket, pretty much chalk. UNC winning against Kentucky, and then press Virginia. Watch out for them. They could get hot here. I mean, they're not great at shooting the ball, but if their press works on, they could make it to the Final Four. All right, last but not least, the Midwest region. Virginia received the top seed and will face off against 16th-seeded Hampton. In the 8-9 game, Texas Tech takes on Butler. Purdue and Arkansas Little Rock battle in the 5-12 matchup. And Iowa State plays Iona in the 4-13 game. In the bottom half of the bracket, 6th-seeded Seton Hall goes up against WCC champ Gonzaga. 3rd-seeded Utah battles 14th-seeded Fresno State. 7th-seeded Dayton plays 10th-seeded Syracuse. And number 2, Michigan State does battle against 15th-seeded Middle Tennessee State. What upsets you guys got here?
I really don't have. I guess the one upset would be Dayton over Syracuse, the 7 over the 10. Other than that, I also have Iona over Iowa State. I think Iona runs an up-tempo offense, and then A.J. English, he's averaging 22 points per game. Iowa State's 5 of 7 in their last 12 games, and 5 of those losses were to tournament teams as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Iona's a pretty good team. That game's going to be the first team to 100 that's going to win between Iona and Iowa State. And you look at these 1/16 matchups, and you always just move the 1 seed over. And I will move the 1 seed over in this one, but I wouldn't be entirely shocked if Virginia does lose to Hampton. I mean, Hampton, they're not the best 16 seed in this tournament, but Virginia shouldn't be a 1 seed. They play awful away from home, and they're not playing the NCAA tournament at home, so there's a chance that they get upset. I mean, keep that in the back of your mind, folks.
Yeah, I don't think Virginia's going to lose to Hampton. I mean, they deserve the 1 seed. No, you could have given it to Michigan State, but I don't think they're going to lose to Hampton. As for the rest of the bracket, the first round I had all chalk. But other than that, I have Seton Hall, the 6th seed, going up against Utah. It was a 3, and I have Seton Hall advancing that game. Isaiah Whitehead, their point guard, heck of a player. They just ran through the Big East, won that, so they could beat Utah. Other than that, Purdue over Virginia. The size of Hammonds and Haas down low for Purdue, I think, is really hard to handle. So that could be a low-scoring defensive, grinded-out game, Purdue versus Virginia. And then I had Michigan State beating Purdue in the Elite Eight and a rematch in the Big Ten Championship going to the Final Four. Quick, who you guys got for that one?
I have Michigan State going to the Final Four from that region.
And I have Purdue because guards get you through the first weekend, but big men win championships. Seen in recent years like Duke's Jahlil Okafor. And Purdue's got 2 really great big men, so Purdue's going to the Final Four out of this bracket.
All right, so now we have our Final Four set. Who do you have going to Houston?
I have Miami, Oregon, North Carolina, and Michigan State.
And then I have Miami, VCU, North Carolina, and then Purdue.
Well, I have Kansas. Let's see who else I have. Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Michigan State. And I read somewhere this past week, Big 12 was strong and they could have 75% of the Final Four. I wasn't sure if I believed that or not. Sure enough, I did it with West Virginia, Kansas, and Oklahoma. It's possible. Well, who do you have in the championship and who wins it?
I have a little bit of a shocker in the championship. I have Miami against Michigan State, and I have Michigan State winning. Everybody knows that Tom Izzo, the coach at Michigan State, you can't count him out come tournament time, and I think Denzel Valentine's going to show why he deserves to be Player of the Year.
And then I have North Carolina against Miami. I hopped on the Miami bandwagon this whole way, but like I said before, big men win championships. North Carolina, they have some really good big men in Bryce Johnson and I believe it's Mills, and they're gonna hop on their back. Marcus Page, pretty good point guard. It's not even a contest.
I got Kansas beating Oklahoma for the 3rd time, even though it's hard to beat teams 3 times. And Michigan State over West Virginia, they can handle that press. So the championship, Kansas, Michigan State, 2 senior-led teams. You don't see that often these days in college basketball, with Kansas winning it all, coming from the toughest conference. They're on a roll. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have time for today. We thank everyone for tuning in with us. I'd like to thank Bryce Pomplun and Ben Zitouni for joining me today with their bracket analysis. And a big thanks to our technical staff and all their hard work to make this possible. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television or follow us on Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointer Athletics information. And just remember Stevens Point, here at Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports, and enjoy the madness.